Everybody has a favorite quote. If you're like me, you have 12. Some of my favorite quotes are by prolific literary giants, like those Persian Sufi mystic poets, Rumi and Hafiz, the Lebanese poet and author, Khalil Gibran, the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, and the renowned author of children's books, Dr. Seuss. But one of my favorite quotes of all time is by the German theoretical physicist, Albert Einstein. He is credited with saying that everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its entire life believing that it is stupid. I absolutely agree. I also believe that every one of us was born with a unique and highly individualized potential to help make a difference in the world and to leave a legacy that will shape generations to come. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Imagine reaching deep down inside of yourself, gathering up all of that great inner goodness that you have inside, drawing it up and thrusting it out into the world. Imagine if we collectively did that, what an impact that could make. It could change the world. I believe that we have a responsibility to use our talents, our resources, our skills to help improve the condition of society and do social good, which is basically benefiting the most number of people in the greatest way possible. Give you an example. This is my friend, Chris Blauvelt. He is the founder of LaunchGood, an online crowdfunding platform that was designed to do exactly what the name implies, launch good. The mission is very simple. Together, we will make the world a better place. It was launched in October 2013, and after initial setbacks, they went on to help raise $1 million for worthy causes and projects. To date, they have helped raise over $32 million in the last several years to fund worthy campaigns. It has become a global force for good in the world, with a presence in over 20 countries around the world and counting. Some of the most successful campaigns are successful not only because of the human interest that they generate, but also because the people who launch these campaigns have in place networks that enable them to get the word out and build momentum towards their campaigns. One of their most successful campaigns was a campaign that was launched in the aftermath of the Portland attacks on 3 heroes who came to the defense of 2 young women who were on a train who were targeted in an Islamophobic attack. And when American Muslims around the country learned about this, they were devastated and horrified. And a small group of Muslims came together and decided that they wanted to help raise money to benefit the families of the victims and offset some of the costs that they had incurred. So they set a modest goal of $60,000. Before they knew it, the campaign went viral. They ended up ultimately raising over $600,000 for the families of the victims. Nothing can replace the lives of the individuals who were lost, but it helped alleviate some of the burden that they were facing. Expanding our social networks, it enhances the impact of our skills and potential. We in ourselves are the nucleus of our worlds. We have primary, secondary, tertiary relationships. Our parents, our loved ones, our spouses, children, colleagues, neighbors, these are all relationships that we can leverage to help build our networks and strengthen our relationships with people around the world. This is what determines our social currency. Our social currency is basically the sum of our actual and potential resources, both online and offline, that arise from our presence in social networks and communities. It entails having reciprocity, These are generally mutually beneficial relationships, developing trust and cooperation. It's a very simple concept. People who trust us and who are familiar with us are more likely to promote our brand, and they're more likely to support our cause. One of the biggest motivators, especially for young women, to build social currency for social good is to help promote causes, women's rights issues and causes that impact you because of your gender. History tells us that we have made progress over the last century when it comes to women's rights. We have more women in the workforce. We have more women who are getting educated, who have access to different resources. But there's a difference between history and her story, right? Her story is a story of every woman who still is not receiving equal pay for equal work as men. It's a story of every woman who is still subjected to gender-based violence, who is still enduring harassment, who is still objectified, who is still fighting for autonomy over her reproductive rights and her ability to make choices where her own body is concerned, who's fighting for her right to dress the way that she chooses, who's fighting for her ability to push back against institutional barriers in the workplace and in the school place. Her story is every woman's story, and it tells us that we still have work to do. According to the National Women's Law Center, women on average earn 78 cents to every dollar that men earn for equal work. Fortune 500 companies make up 2/3 of the United States gross domestic product. Yet in 2017, only 32 CEOs of Fortune 500 companies were women. That's less than 7%. And this despite Pew Research telling us that there are more women in the United States today than there are men. In 2017, only less than 110 women in Congress, only less than 110 Congress members are women, including both the House and the Senate. Women only make up 1/5 of Congress. This despite the fact that I also believe, like many of you, that a woman's place is in the House of Representatives, and the Senate, and the White House. According to the National Women's Law Center, women are more likely to live in poverty than men. And as if it's not bad enough that we earn less, we actually end up paying more than many men. This is what's called the pink tax. This is an extra charge that's added on to products and services like life insurance, dry cleaning, grooming products that men do not end up having to pay. There's no justice in that. Every year on August 26th, we celebrate what's called Women's Equality Day. This is the anniversary of the 19th Amendment, of the enactment of the 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote. It's important to note that women of color were not actually freely able to exercise this freedom until many decades later, when the Voting Rights Act was passed in the 1960s. However, we know that even though it's important to celebrate the progress that we've made, we still have a lot of work to do to really truly achieve gender equality in the United States and globally. But we can overcome these hurdles. Working together, we can make sure that women have an equal say. Social currency enables us to do that. It helps us to advocate on issues that we care about. It allows us to raise awareness and to mobilize communities and encourage other people to join us in our cause, to make sure that the next generation of girls who are growing up in this world have equal access to opportunities that we do, as men do. The key is to develop an authentic narrative that is true to your principles and to your values, that speaks to who you are as an individual, and that does not compromise your principles. And it's also important to understand what appeals to other people. Building social currency on an online setting could be as simple as creating a Facebook page or a Twitter handle, something that would allow us to enable us to develop an online presence. In the physical realm, it could be as simple as making a phone call setting up a meeting, or emailing someone who is a community advocate, who is an ally, who is a community stakeholder, organizations that help push forward the issues that you care about. Just building those relationships, introducing yourself and letting them know that you're interested in getting involved, and finding out what role you can play within that organization to help expand their work. The way that we communicate says a lot about us, whether we're confident. Do we know what we're talking about? Are we passionate about these issues? Are we relatable? Are we speaking in a language that others can understand? And are we confident? Social media has become a dynamic tool to share content, promote products, and build individual and company brands. Its algorithms reflect our behavior and habits, but they also direct and maneuver our social activities. Understanding how these algorithms work can really enable us to enhance our social currency, amplify our brands, and influence more people than we ever thought was possible. Our likes, our retweets, our posts, our shares, all of these on social media, these are our digital thumbprint. They communicate information about who we are, what we appreciate, what we enjoy, what appeals to us. It's very valuable information. Technology has changed our daily lives by bringing the world closer together. It's provided platforms for us to communicate in ways like never before. We can even shape other people's perceptions in real time, across multiple time zones from all around the world. It's powerful, it's revolutionary, and it's something that we can leverage to help bring about positive change. I think I really began to understand how normalized social media had become in our lives the day that my mom started following me on Twitter. But it really hit home the day that a distant uncle who lives in a remote village in Pakistan, where they speak little to no English, where they have electricity maybe a few hours a day, one day sent me a friend request on Facebook. All of a sudden, this person who I'd never met before, I'd spoken to maybe twice in my entire life, knew more about my activism and what was going on in my life than people within my own closest social networks who were not connected to me on social media. It was mind-blowing. My mom would actually ask me about my activism based on what she learned from him, like when they were talking on the phone. And I was like, wait, what? There's no doubt about it. In this world, in today's world, you are inheriting great challenges, but you're also inheriting great opportunities. All of us are gifted with unique talents and skills. One of the greatest opportunities of your lifetime is to use those talents and skills to leave the world a little bit better than how you found it. So whether the cause that appeals to you is gender equality, or climate change, or social justice issues, debt alleviation, eradicating poverty, or whatever it is that sparks a fire in your heart, you are in exactly the right place in your lives to begin that journey to help bring about positive change in the world. So go on out in the world. Launch all of the good that you possibly can. It needs your talents, your potential, and your compassion now more than ever. But remember one thing. Your job is not to change the world. Your job is to never stop trying. Thank you.